My landlord knocked on my door at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Not texted, knocked. I'd lived in that building for 4 years and barely exchanged more than pleasantries with the man. So when I opened the door and saw Ethan standing there in a wrinkled button-down, looking like he hadn't slept in 2 days, I knew whatever came next was going to be complicated. "I need to ask you something," he said, "and I need you to know I wouldn't ask if I had anyone else." 3 years earlier, Ethan had quietly waived 2 months of rent when I lost my job after my father's surgery. No contract adjustment, no formal arrangement, just a handshake and "get back on your feet." I'd paid him back every cent, but we both knew that wasn't the whole debt. He needed me to sit with his mother at her care facility the following afternoon, just a few hours. His brother was flying in from Portland specifically to argue that their mother needed to be transferred to a cheaper facility across the state, and Ethan needed someone calm present who could take notes, act as a witness, and keep him from saying something he'd regret. His wife was traveling for work. His daughter was in school. He had no one. I said yes before he finished asking. The facility smelled like industrial cleaner and microwaved soup. Ethan's mother, Eleanor, was small and sharp-eyed in a way that made me immediately understand where Ethan got his composure. She shook my hand firmly and said, "You must be the good neighbor. He talks about you." His brother David arrived 20 minutes late and spent the first 10 minutes complimenting the room before getting to the point. The new facility was 2 hours away. Cheaper, yes. Also newer. Also far from every person Eleanor had spent 81 years building her life around. Eleanor said very little. She folded her hands on the table and listened. David had spreadsheets. He had printed documents with highlighted sections. He was not unkind, and that almost made it worse. He genuinely believed he was being practical. Ethan stayed quiet longer than I expected. I watched him breathe carefully, the way someone does when they're holding something large and fragile inside their chest. At one point, David turned to me and said, "You're a friend of Ethan's, so obviously you're not neutral here." "I'm not neutral," I said, "but I'm also not speaking. I'm just here." Eleanor looked at me when I said that. Something in her expression shifted slightly. What broke the tension wasn't an argument. It was Eleanor placing one hand flat on the table and saying quietly, "David, I know you love me, but I am not a line item." The room went still. David looked at his spreadsheets, then he folded them. The conversation that followed was slower, more honest. No resolution that afternoon, but something had cracked open in a way that felt necessary. When we walked out, Ethan didn't say much. He stopped at his car and stood there for a moment with his keys in his hand. "She hasn't said his name like that in years," he said finally. He needed to hear it from her. I drove home feeling the particular exhaustion that comes from witnessing something real. 2 weeks later, Ethan knocked again, normal hour this time, to tell me David had agreed to delay any decision for 6 months. Eleanor would stay. They were going to look into additional support options closer to home. He handed me a bottle of wine I'd mentioned once in passing, 8 months earlier, that I'd wanted to try. I didn't remember telling him that. "You didn't have to do this," I said. "Neither did you," he said. I opened the wine that night and sat with the quiet of my apartment, thinking about how most of the moments that actually matter don't announce themselves. No dramatic music, no clean resolution at the door, just a knock at an inconvenient hour, a choice made in a tired hallway, and two people understanding something about each other that didn't require words. Eleanor sent me a card a week later, 3 sentences in careful handwriting. "Ethan told me what you did. I want you to know I noticed. The quiet ones always do. I still have it."